Thank you. Good afternoon. This is a picture of my daughter, but unlike the previous speaker, Dr. Rianto, I didn't ask her for permission to put it up. Okay, so as a psychologist, I'm sure you're not going to be too surprised that I'm going to try to measure your level of happiness. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 7, 1 being not a very happy person, 7 being a very happy person, where do you generally consider yourself? Okay, 1, not a very happy person, 7, a very happy person. Where do you generally consider yourself? Okay, think of a number. Now, how many of you would be interested in being happier? Okay, so if you thought of 5 or 6, maybe you want to be a 6 or a 7. Okay, interesting. Okay, so many of you are interested in being happier, and some of you are not. Perhaps you're already pretty happy. Now, how many of you think it's possible to be happier? Okay, very good. So it looks like you think that it's possible to be happier. Now, I can't guarantee you that by the end of the talk you're going to be happier, but I will share with you an idea that has been guaranteed by science to make you happier. Okay, so that's the goal of my talk. Now, sometimes when I come to campus, I take the taxi here, and a number of times, taxi drivers are quite chatty. So there's one day a taxi driver was talking to me and said, "Oh, where do you work?" So I said, at NTU. He said, "Oh, NTU, oh, that's good. I want my daughter to study there." I said, "Oh, really? Okay." Then he said, "Oh, what do you teach at NTU?" I teach psychology. Then the taxi driver said, "Oh, that's good. I want my daughter to go and study in NTU, study psychology." He said, "Oh, really? Okay." So I asked, "So how old is your daughter?" 4 years old. So I was thinking, wow, your daughter's 4 years old, already thinking ahead about the university education. And then the other day, I was having my nasi lemak, eating my rice. And nearby, there was another father and son pair having their nasi lemak, eating their rice. So the father was asking the son, "Hey, boy, when you eat the rice, where does the food go?" And then the boy said, "Stomach lah." Then the father said, "No, before the stomach, what's that thing called?" Then the boy was like, "I just want to eat my nasi lemak." Then the father said, esophagus, don't you know that?" And I was thinking, wow, I don't know if I knew what an esophagus is when I was 7 years old. Okay, but I guess this story shows us that in society today, we focus so much on academic success for youth and material success for adults. In fact, if you ask our youth today, what do you want out of life? Oftentimes they'll say things like, I want to get a degree, I want to make lots of money, I want to find my life partner. And if you ask parents what do they want for their children, oftentimes they say the same kind of things, right? I want my children to get a good education, get a good career, get married, and so on. It's interesting. Why don't people say, what I want out of life is to be happy, Or why don't parents say, what I want for my children is for them to be happy with life, right? So it's interesting. People have interesting views, right, about happiness. In fact, let me ask you, which do you think is the main factor influencing one's happiness, right? One of the previous speakers, Benedict, gave away the answer. So let's see if you're paying attention. Okay. So is it 1, genetically determined, based on a genetically determined set point, which means some people are just born happy? Okay. 2, is it due to your life circumstances? If you're born rich, then you're happier. If you're born good looking, then you're happier. 3, is it due to some daily intentional activity? Okay, something you do or think about on a daily basis. So how many of you think 1 is the main reason influencing our happiness? Okay. How many of you think it's 2? Okay, interesting. And how many of you think it's 3? Daily intentional activities. Okay, very good. Thank you. So the answer, according to a psychologist, Sonia Lubomirsky, who has studied this for her whole career, the number 1 answer is actually genes, genetics, right? It's genetically determined set point. So 50% of the variance in happiness is due to genetics. It means some people are just born happy, right? It's like your weight, right? You've all tried dieting. You lose weight when you diet. When you stop dieting, you go back to your set point, right? So similar idea here. But fortunately, daily intentional activities is close. It's a close second, right? Many of you put your hands up for that. So it's a close second. 40% is due to daily intentional activities. But life circumstances is only 10%. So are you surprised by that? Why is it that life circumstances only account for 10% of the variation in happiness. Most people would think, right, it's money that makes me happy, right? If I won the lottery, right, I'll be happier. In fact, do people really become happier when they win the lottery? Well, psychologists have studied everything, so they have studied this too. They want to look at whether winning the lottery actually makes people happier or not. So in one particular study, they compared people who won the lottery with a group of people who are victims of spinal injury. Okay, so something quite serious. And what they found was that lottery winners were not happier than victims of spinal injury. Okay? Now, of course, the moment you win the lottery, you'll be pretty happy, right? You'll be pretty happy for a while. But the happiness does not last. The happiness does not last. And psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, right? Hedonic adaptation is when we become happier due to a major event, like winning the lottery, a wedding, getting promoted, and so on. But the happiness doesn't last. I'm sure you felt like that when you bought your smartphone, right? When you bought your smartphone, I'm sure you were pretty happy for a few weeks. But then pretty soon you realize, oh no, there's a newer version out now. I wish I had a newer version. I wish I had Siri. Or if you had Siri, you wish Siri was smarter. So we are always wishing for something more, right? And while many of us think that money might bring us happiness, have we thought that it might work the other way around? That maybe happiness might bring us more money? Well, again, psychologists have found some evidence for this other idea that perhaps happiness brings you more money. And so in one study, college students who were happier were actually earning more money 16 years later on. Right? And another interesting study, women who showed more joy in college expressed more satisfaction with their marriages when they were 52 years old, right? So in other words, if I break you up into two groups, the happy people and the not so happy people, the happy people here in this room might be earning more money and might be happier in their relationships later on in life. So why don't we seek happiness now, right? So happiness brings a lot of benefits. So going back to our pie chart, we can't do much about our genes, right? We can't do much about our life circumstances, but we can change our daily intentional activities, right? So what I'll be sharing with you today is the idea of practicing gratitude. The intentional practice of gratitude has been scientifically proven to promote well-being. Okay, let me share with you a story, a true story of a family friend of mine. I call her great aunt. Okay, so great aunt is 80 years old, was born into very good life circumstances, born rich, right? Her father was a wealthy businessman, had a thriving business property, and they had maids and servants in their household, and she didn't have to work until she was like 30 plus years old. Okay, but money can disappear. There was a bad business deal, the business went south, and overnight the money was all gone. Her father went bankrupt and went back to China. So now they have to start working, right? So when she was in her 30s, she had to start working, cleaning houses, as a shop assistant. When she was in her 70s, she was still what we call like a sales girl. Right? So she was sharing a room with 5 other people, and eventually she was able to save up enough money to buy her own flat. But this is a low-cost apartment in a notoriously bad neighborhood. Okay, so it's a bad neighborhood where there are criminals and gangsters living there. So we asked her, we're concerned, are you afraid about the crime here? Then she said, there's no crime here, right? No one dares to commit any crime because all the gangsters and criminals live here, right? So thank goodness for the gangsters, right? There's no crime here. This is a kind of low-cost apartment where the blocks are so close to each other, you can see your neighbor. Then we asked her, are you concerned about the lack of privacy? She said, no, it's great because the blocks are so near to each other. It's very windy because there's a wind tunnel effect. We asked her about the noisy and dirty wet market downstairs. Are you bothered by that? She said, no, it's great. It's so convenient. The food is out there. So it's really amazing. She's 80 years old now, and we're really inspired by her gratitude she has for life, despite her life circumstances. So how can we cultivate this sense of gratitude? I'm just going to share with you 2 very simple activities. Okay, one we call the 3 good things in life. So perhaps once a week at night, just think and write down 3 good things in your life. Okay, it could be something small, like perhaps someone sent you a message, or someone told you a funny joke, or it could be something large, right? You're very grateful for your family, for your loved ones. I saw something upstairs. You know, there's the happiness lab upstairs. There was a poster illustrating this activity, and I saw one touching quote, something that this person was grateful for, sharing hot steaming rice with my family. So I thought that was quite touching. So it could be something small or something large. Okay? And another simple activity is the gratitude letter. So just write a letter thanking someone for something they did for you. Okay? So very simple, just write a letter thanking this person for something that they did for you. And if you're comfortable, you can present this letter to that person as well. Okay? So these two simple activities can make a big difference. In fact, studies have shown that people who practice this simple activity, compared to those who don't, are happier and less depressed. Okay, so it's an amazing effect. And these studies have been done, many of these studies have been done in US, but they've also been done in the Asian context. In fact, one of my students, Conrad Zenth, and I did a study in Malaysia, and we found similar effects for the effectiveness of these activities as well. But what's really amazing is that beyond increasing happiness and reducing depression, some studies have also found that people who practice these simple activities have better health, they sleep better, and there are other behavioral benefits, you know, like they exercise more, they help other people more, and they're just more satisfied with life. So it's interesting where there's this ripple effect, right, where a simple activity leads to positive emotions, and these positive emotions leads to many benefits in many areas, you know, of your life. So you may wonder, why does such a simple activity work, right? Why does such a simple activity work? I guess basically because gratitude is an acknowledgement that we have received something of value from others. Imagine when you put together a photo album on Facebook, right? Typically, you put together happy memories, right? Memories you share with your loved ones, your family, your friends. You don't put pictures of yourself feeling sad, depressed, or angry, right? You put happy memories together of those you spend with your loved ones. So in a sense, that's what gratitude does, right? It helps us to focus on the positive, helps us to appreciate the things that we receive from others. So later on, when you're updating your Facebook, perhaps you might want to consider noting down 3 good things that have happened to you in your life. Like I said, it could be something small, or it could be something large, you know, appreciating your family, friends. It could be something spiritual as well. And this simple activity can be an important first step to a life filled with happiness. Thank you very much.